It was started by Untitled, and it's something that keeps on bubbling on, coming on again and again. It's repeatedly going on. It's biting into our political arena, and now that people are also heading to the general elections, of course, it's something that really needs to be addressed and looked out into a very sensitive angle on finding ways of how then can it be addressed.
It's an addition. Yeah, and it goes back to the understanding that if you sort out the issues of the people, they forget about where they are coming from and where they are, you know. Nobody will ask you when his stomach is so full that, you know, I'm so full, I'm low, you know. And I have a problem with the Kikuyu because he's hungry, you know. And that the spirit of 2002 where that there was enthusiasm about nationhood, you know, there was enthusiasm about new change that is coming, and we somehow forgot that, you know, somebody was a Giriama or somebody was Swahili or somebody was, you know, it's if political parties who are here, you know, members of political party, leaders from political parties, if we can be able to engage more with the citizens on issues, you know, we are all going to forget about who we are as a community, you know, and embrace Kenyanism in us. But again, we need to appreciate that we are over 42 ethnic groups. Yeah? And there's something, you know, cultural differences, and there's something very unique about each and every ethnic group. And so, do we see that as a problem, or do we see diversity as richness, as wealth, as a nation? There's so many things that we can harvest from each and every ethnic community.
Thank you. Just because of the time, can we make the question very short? So next question.
All right, I'm Isaac. And my question is like, yeah, taking an example in Kenya, the government now we have it came to project the before agenda. Yes. Now the healthcare, food security, manufacture and the job creation and also as well. So like my question is, there are such good projects, but where is the revenue? Also on issue of sustainability, yes. And you said about the environmental aspect, the social aspect, as well as the economic aspect. How about the governance, institutional governance aspect? And also the policy implementation part, because I hear like this country has got good product implementation is the problem. How about that problem?
Do I start? Yes, Isaac. And it's good that you have even mentioned the policies by the government. But where do we follow up? Do we follow up with the government? You know, if we have an opportunity to follow up there, do we follow up with our members of parliament? You know, when public participation is called, do we go? Do we usually go? Or do we truly, you know, participate in it? You know, if we follow up, Hansard, do you check on Hansard what is going on in parliament? You know, in county assembly, you know the issues that are being addressed and raise them. There are so many channels to do that. And political parties are here, we can ask them.
Now, from just what you have said, there is something that's also lacking. And that is basically, for the common mwananchi, they are only interested, does it protect lives and livelihoods? And then the other, which is normally not addressed. And the second one is the tradition. What is the tradition of the practice? Because if you don't take into the tradition and practice, again, you will not achieve the goal. And maybe I can tell a funny story. When we got COVID, how come without a lot of resources we have been able to overcome the COVID, and the Europeans and the other people that don't have resources, they're still struggling? Now, if you look at the way the government handled it, and the governments around, it was more of witchcraft and voodoo. Some people from neighboring countries, they had this concoction, which of course is what we have been practicing. And then eventually, the government took over, and you saw that they were burying people at night in white clothing with some lanterns. And if you look at it closely, some of those burial sites, they basically were the same sites where our night runners normally So the night runners, of course, were displaced, and they came to the village and they were telling the people that government is practicing witchcraft. And of course, the people were keen to see, because between a witch doctor and a night runner, the people trust the night runner over the witch doctor. So the people went to see, and so they would stand at a distance and watch these government guys in white robes with the lanterns in the dark. And then they agreed that that must be witchcraft. So what happened is that immediately those people left, they would go and exhume those bodies and give them the right ritual, which is what we know. Eventually what happened was that people realized that those bodies actually don't transmit the disease, because the people who are doing that were not dying, but the people who are well are the ones who are dying. Eventually what happened was, because of that, the disease was demystified. Then came the Omicron, which infected all of us, and we got what is being preached about, herd immunity. So what has saved us is our tradition. You can call it voodoo, witchcraft, but the solution eventually came from those practices. So if you are going to solve all these problems, the technology is good, the politics is good, but it must be embedded in our tradition, because that is where the solution eventually lies. Just like we saw with the leather issue, we approach it from the practice and the tradition. And for her, if we are going to find a solution to the plastic, you need to get the tradition of the plastic makers. Without them, no solution from outside will basically solve it.
I like the fact that you asked about governance. And one of the things that has made us have the plastic pollution that we have today is that lack of governance. And to highlight to you, the environment also has environmental governance. And these are based on 9 pillars. 1, on transparency, accountability, inclusivity, effectiveness. And now if I just take those 4, when we look at how we are dealing with our environment, can we be accountable for the dirt we create? Yeah, we are running an advocacy that we have said, hashtag my waste, my responsibility, because I don't know who will be responsible for what you're doing if it's not you. So when we bring in the issue of environment, we can have all the developments we want, but we may as well kill ourselves, because there will be no future. If we are not able to govern ourselves to know that we need to be environmentally friendly. So governance is key. It's non-negotiable as well, and it has to come. Where do you come in? Yes, it's in the enforcement of it. How many of you today have seen the plastic bags, the ones that were banned are back in our estate? Let me see by a show of hands. How many of us? Chips Muitu and all this. Do we buy chips Muitu? Yes. Huh? Yeah, I know, Justine told us, we understand. We use Matachi, so it's okay. We are okay for. So we have chips Muitu. Yeah? And those chips Muitu are being put in those plastic bags. So when did we say no? When will we say no to these plastic bags? But when we hear NEMA is nearby, what do? We switch. So who at the end of the day is suffering? Yeah? Today roads were impossible because of what? Flooding. But if you check, our drainages are full of plastic bottles. So did they get there by themselves? We are the ones to do that. So we must, it starts with me. If the environment has to do it, then it starts with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have time for one last question. So, here comes.
Good evening, I'm Rachel, United Green Movement. My question goes to Marie. I don't know if you know that issue-based politics have been taken over by 50 shillings, 100 shillings, and there's no way. I don't know where you come from, but where I come from, there's no way you can give issue-based politics without the 50 shillings, the 100. How do we overturn that? The second question is, the government in place took away civic education that was supposed to be continuously educating the citizens. It replaced civic education with the public participation. I don't know if you've ever participated in public participation. It's a rush, especially during the budget period cycle. It's a rushed exercise. And the only people participate, I can tell you, in a budget.
I can give you a solution. But I won't. But I'll talk about it. And I'll talk about it because what we have not really appreciated as, how many of us are members of political parties? Truly members of political parties who participate in political party processes. Because decisions are made by political parties about this in this country. Because the government is made by political parties. Let's go to the 50 bob issue. The 50 bob issue is an issue of unemployment. Because I don't think most of the people who have somewhere that they're earning would sell anything for 50 bob. You know, sell your vote for 50 bob, sell, you know. And I do understand that even during public participation has a component of money in it, you know, and it is rushed up just to, you know, to align the process with the law, so that the county government will not be taken to court after that. But it still goes back to us, as members of political parties, as members of the public. We are the people who are in this process. However much we engage in civic education, you know, it has to come from us. It has to come from us, from political parties themselves that are driving the processes. From you as a member, participating in a process, you know, and influencing each and every process that is being taken by political parties. Not just sit there. Please also take leadership. You know, find a way to get elected if you are not influencing any policy. Find a way of getting into a political party. Join the youth league, join the women league, you know, join the party structures. You know, try and influence as much as possible things that you can be able to do. Whom of us who understand the process, talk to your children in your houses. Don't tell them about, you know, a certain ethnic group that is, you know, or a certain member of a political party that is not in line with whatever is happening. Responsibility will start with us. Talk to our children about what we need to change. Take responsibility as a member of a political party, you know, and the change will always come from us. But we cannot keep on complaining about the things that are happening to us and not doing anything about it. If we have power to elect, then let us elect leaders whom we believe that can change, that can give change. And also, please, let us follow up in a process that we truly want to engage in. You know, let us not go to public participation and just say things that, you know, just because we want some travel reimbursement at the end of it, or because we were called to support a certain motion or a certain thing that the government wants to pass. Let us keep ourselves. Let us vote where our mouth is. The issues that are concerning us.
All right, give it up for the panel. Speaking Professor Mula and Dr. Katambi. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Makofi tafadhali. That was some really insightful things. Tumejifunza mengi so far, right? And it gives us some insight into what we need to do. Thank you very much. Really blew my mind. And one of the things that's blown my mind, I'm back again to make you laugh, guys, as we rearrange the seats. Yeah, I'm not going to change your life personally. Ndio mimi hapana, mimi tu ni kuwachekesha, and then as we carry on, and then as they switch their seats here. But one of the things that Dr. Katabi talked about, which I'll connect to a personal story, she talked about we living in a concrete jungle, right? And that is very true. This is a thing that happened to me a few weeks ago. My vehicle was broken into, and somebody stole a very expensive laptop. Okay? Has that ever happened to anybody? Maybe yes, it's happened to. I see people laughing. It's happened to them. They stole a very expensive laptop, and I'm like, okay, fine, you've already stolen. But why break the window? You know, why did you break the window? Why can't you be so good at your job? I wouldn't even have found out, you know. Like I had to wake up in the morning and go to the garage instead of going to work. Like, surely, you could go to YouTube and Google how to do the thing on the door so that I won't find out. It's very annoying. Have you ever been robbed by a newbie? You know, a thief who's doing this for the first time, they don't know what they're doing. What you want? Speak up, Kijana, young man, speak up. Confidence, all right? You've joined a very rough industry. I need you to be very confident. And so, you wanted the wallet, I'll give you the wallet. I don't like being robbed by people who don't know what they're doing. It's frustrating. And it's even more frustrating because you can't go to the police station in this country. Sometimes in the group, what are you doing? You're going to do it. I went to report and it became a motion. It was just like gossip. Yeah? I told them what happened and they're like, what? Why did you go laptop? Like, that is the problem, you know. But have you ever been robbed by somebody who knows what they're doing? That's a delight. You know, they'll take you through the process. It's very clear. They'll be like, don't do anything stupid and you won't get hurt. And I'm like, all right, that's an instruction I can understand. They're giving me safety instructions to be safe so that we cannot be successful. They even introduce members of their team. They're like, this is Jonte. Jonte will be handling the guns. Very smooth onboarding process, and this is Janet. Janet will be taking your valuables. Also, 2/3 gender role. We're very inclusive. It's a very easy. You know, it's very easy. But being robbed by someone who don't know what they're doing, it's annoying. It's annoying. But even somebody who is more experienced, even the things they'll say, this person anyway. I don't blame them, I blame the economy. You know, they are super because they are very good at what they do. And even when they steal from you, even the things they say, they make you comfortable. They say like, my political enemies are out to get me. That's a joke that has to go for a few more seconds. I understand this and I'll explain them. Alright, that didn't land the way I expected. And I know why. I ran into the joke too fast. You have to go slow. It happens. We'll do another one. We'll try another one. But anyways, those things have taught me a lot of things now. I have to be more calm in this Nairobi. You know, I have a lot of hope about that laptop. I think I'll get it. I'll find out who they are because they forgot to take the charger. You know. But it's taught me to be more calm, right? Very calm. How are we doing with time? Carry on. All right, I'm gonna bring up my colleague. Yeah, Ludo, you're very all over the place. Okay, should I carry on? Bring my colleague. All right.
That's gonna be, I guess, you're married, right? Oh, yeah.
No, we're ready. Are we ready to carry on?
No, please take your time. It's yours.
Okay, so let me bring my colleague here for a few more minutes, and then the next session will begin. Please give a round of applause for Justin Wanda. Justin Wanda.
Thank you so much, Doug. I told you guys Doug is my mentor, right? So I was also robbed, you know, with respect to him. So, but I wasn't robbed like in a car like him. I was robbed in a matatu. Anyone in here who's been robbed in a matatu? Anyone? So I was going home in the middle of the night because that's how comedy works. You perform for free, you get robbed on your way home. So I was literally like in this matatu. Then we get to like just after a mall on Thika Road, and this guys tell me, Madam Shuka, no tuachie simu. So I was panicking because that's what you do, you know, you panic and then you realize that your month's rent is going with these people, you know. Because like they took my phone and I was going to sell that phone for money, like so that I could pay rent. So I had to tell my landlord I was robbed. He didn't believe me. You know, like landlords don't believe, they don't believe us. I told my landlord my padlock is broken into. He was like, yeah, that was me taking your TV. So he's a very creative guy. If I can't make rent, he finds something to sell. So when these guys robbed me, they dropped me in the middle of the road. And I was very shocked, like, why would you leave me here? You know, I can see my house from this road. Like, munifikishe, you know, save on fuel, you know, let us save the environment, like you're doing a good thing. But they didn't give me an opportunity, they left me in the middle of the road. I was saved by a Nduthi guy. So congratulations to every Nduthi guy you know. They're good people out there. I think they deserve a round of applause. So before he got to my house, he also robbed me. That's just balance. So like Professor over here was talking about how he's like refined the process of turning to like the zero waste, yeah. So I just think some animal activists will not agree with you, and it's because they don't believe in like the life cycle of a cow should end like that. You know, you should distribute it evenly, but they don't believe in eating it. So I also wanted to join the green movement, but Wangari Maathai beat me to it. She already has a Nobel Peace Prize. She's done so much work. I don't think if I start planting trees now, I'll be able to catch up to her. And Stephen was talking about issue-based politics. My issue with issue-based politics is that politics is the issue. It's a very, very hard thing to convince people who are like, they're very big on their tribes to listen to your issues. You know, I saw someone was running for MP in my area, so I ran to them and I was like, you have to fix this drainage. And then they were like, Madam, niko na 5 minutes na gari yangu imeisha mafuta. So I was like, I can go with you, like, like, I was trying to actually have a conversation with him, but he was like, he didn't have time. So because he didn't have time, I took his watch. And that's how I also managed to pay my rent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have all asked questions, and the questions have been directed to governance issues. And I am here today so that we can also find the link and the nexus between our politics and the issue of environment and climate change. Years ago, I know all generations who are here, and some generations who are also not here, who will be born later, will always hear issues of environment. Whenever they are mentioned, Wangari Maathai conversation will always come up. And it's a moment for all of us to reflect today, wherever she is. Have we lived to her dreams and aspirations of when she started the issues of environment, planting trees? She has just mentioned that when she plants now, she will not be able to reach where Wangari Maathai wanted things to be. But I think we all have a role to contribute to this. And when Steve and the others were talking, they have mentioned of a collective role of everyone. Professor has mentioned, Dr. Bessie has also mentioned, and Steve have emphasized on issues of the role of political parties. So in the next session of the segment following up,
we'll be having political parties representatives sitting here and just unpacking the issue further to understand if all of us are doing our role well, or if there's something else to be done. We are discussing issues of climate change now, which is a global issue, just for all of us to reflect if we have all done enough. Commitments are done every time. We are counting COP each year. Last year it was very famous because it was during COVID and it was done online, so everybody knew about COP26. Where it started, most of the people don't know. Are the voices of the people who are affected listened in those decision-making tables? Is the science and the data we are producing understood by the people? What is the role of political party in ensuring that the manifestos and the documents and policies which are developed within our country are able to capture the voices of the people? Do people even understand what climate change and environment matter is? So that when we say we are calling them for public participation, they truly understand what we are talking about. So my name is Mary Maina. I come from Mombasa. I'll be moderator of this session. I work for an organization called Center for Resilience and Sustainable Africa. We are advancing issues of climate change. We convene a community of practice platform in Mombasa, where we are bringing government, private sector, community members, and all other stakeholders who are working on issues of climate change. I look forward to a session which will not only give us light in terms of the 2022 general election, where Steve has mentioned that the primaries are ongoing, but also show us that the plans ahead are the plans which reflect the issue which is here with us. We might not see it as serious, but the world every day is declaring the issue of climate change serious. I'm not sure how prepared they are at their own level of policy and the issue-based politics which have been asked today. So for all what has been proposed by Professor and Dr. Bessie to take place, the political parties who are in the room have a role to ensure that it is actualized. Allow me to welcome them so that they can all come, introduce themselves, and then we'll have an opportunity to interrogate. Something else which Dr. Bessie has mentioned is our consciousness. As we are listening to them, let all of us reflect if we have done enough, or if we feel we have lost the hope. We need to be able to save our nature. Kwa hivyo nitawakaribisha. I have a representative from the political parties. I won't mention their name because they have an opportunity to introduce themselves, but I will request the representative from UDA to come and take your seat here. And then we have NAC Kenya, who is also in the house. We have ANC in the house. And we have for Kenya also in the house. If there is any other political party representative who is around, kindly join us. Yes, Honorable. That's why you've seen you and then I think you are welcome. And congratulations, the green was the color. You got it right. Thank you. Kindly, can I have the other microphone, please? Thank you. In less than a minute, I will appreciate if you introduce yourself, your name, and the party you represent.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Neto Agostino, colleague of the United Democratic Party.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Kennedy Chen Sankara from ANC Youth League.
Good evening. My name is Semena Karopia from Kiambu County. I come from United Democratic Alliance, and also its Youth Congress. Thank you.
Good evening to you all. My name is Tab, or W. Daniels, the Executive Director, NAC Kenya.
Good evening to you. My name is David Borari, National Deputy Organizing Secretary of Ford Kenya.
Thank you. Just to assure everyone in the house, I am the only lady, but I'm safe. Don't worry. So, Mheshimiwa, you already have the mic. There has been a conversation from when we started. We have heard from the three presenters who have given their scientific view and aspiration of where they would wish things to be. Do you feel like political parties have what it takes to inform issue-based politics in this country?
Thank you very much, Madam. I want to begin by thanking Professor and Dr. Bessie and my brother Steve. Steve was mentored us in politics, and we've had meetings with him severally on political issues and strengthening of democracy in political parties. Let me begin by saying I agree with them on issues of on green issues. As a party, we take it very seriously. And I want to say something. For the last over 20 years, since Ford Kenya came into inception as the second oldest political party in the multi-party era, we have done several manifestos. One of the areas we have captured seriously is the issue of environment, or rather a critical green issue in our party. Why I take it seriously is because political parties are the ones that form government. When we form government, everybody questions where is the position of these issues that we address. But then, when we form government, do we seriously address these issues, despite having them in our manifestos? I want to say, not very much. Not very much because every time we form government, other competing interests come up. And sometimes they overshadow what political parties stand for. Let me tell you something. When Kibaki, may the Lord rest his soul in eternal peace, became president of this country, he appointed a renowned environmentalist, Professor Gary Madai, as an assistant minister. That caused a hue and cry all over the world. People questioned why the lady was not made a full minister for environment. That's how sometimes we relegate those issues, despite having them so seriously in our manifestos.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, can I finish up?
Thank you. We still have several other questions. I would wish the microphone to be given to Mheshimiwa here, so that I can give him an opportunity to explain to us if there are laws in this country which are directly or indirectly targeting the issue of climate. And if they are there, because he has mentioned that the manifestos, we are just building up from what he has mentioned, that the manifestos are mentioning. Is this something we feel that we need to move from the laws to implementation, or are law not sufficient?
So first is to say that indeed Kenya does have Climate Change Act, which was enacted in 2016.
Yes.
And of course part of what's supposed to happen in that particular legislation is that there's supposed to be county enabling legislations that pick up from that particular Climate Change Act. Now, implementing that particular legislation, you need to deal with the inherent incompetencies in that particular legislation. I mean, the first one is the National Steering Council of that particular, what's supposed to be the National Climate Change convening, which is supposed to be shared with the presidency and also the cabinet secretaries. Inherently, the way that particular body is structured, it is structured in a manner that's not supposed to work, because the presidency, the cabinet secretaries are going to be too busy with regard to that particular implementation. The second thing is that the Climate Change Act also has something which is called the Climate Change Fund, which the Treasury of Kenya and the Ministry of Environment for the Finance in Kenya is ill-conceived of what's supposed to be climate adaptive practices or climate mitigation practices. So I really think that the construct, the Treasury of Kenya does not want to operationalize sections of the Climate Change Act in a manner that will be really useful for Kenya with regard to both climate change mitigation and adaptation. And the third thing, which I don't want to go on particular legislation, I just want to tell you that yes, indeed there is legislation that is in place. The only problem is the construct of the legislation does not make it, it's not fit for purpose. The other thing is the last that I want to mention, which is a deficiency in that particular legislation, is with regard to how it's supposed to be operationalized. On the one hand, it gives the National Environment and Management Authority some responsibility, but it does give it responsibility without also the power and the form with which it's supposed to see that law operationalized. So yes, it is true that sometimes in Kenya we do make legislation, but we do make legislation to tick boxes. Kenya is the National Environment Management Authority legislation, for example, one that's supposed to be working on what, the Dr. problems with regard to waste management issues. If you look at waste management issues in Kenya, environmental governance is supposed to be devolved, but it's devolved in a manner that, the county governments, if you look at the county government budgets, no one puts money on environment. Environment is not the place to steal. They put money where they're going to steal. A hospital that's not going to be constructed, a road that's not meant to happen. So it's very difficult to steal an environment, because if you put money on trees, you can trace the tree, but you see trees at the 20 shillings or 25 shillings. It's not the cost of a road. So that makes environment really not a big thing to deal with. So I really think that we need to devolve and operationalize environmental governance as it exists within our law and also within the Constitution of Kenya, because Article 42 of the Constitution and the operational aspects of environment are actually devolved functions. So the moment we thank you very much. Forget about the UN recommendation. Kenya at Article 69(1) actually talks about a 10% tree cover of its own motion. Now, you've just seen the president in his excitement has brought down several trees down on this express highway. Yes. If you're talking about a country that still has about 6% tree cover, what we're doing in terms of construction, our infrastructure, our urbanization that Dr. Betty was speaking to. It's ill-informed. Our environmental planning, our development structure is ill-informed. One, we are far much below the 10% tree cover, which we've set about in our own constitution. So, planting a tree is the easiest thing. Just plant trees. It doesn't take, it's no mental energy. We can't do that. So then, issues like Big Four agenda, then that is too much work if you can't just plant trees. So yes, we have not attained our 10% tree cover, and it does need rocket science. I think we really need to put in more, and that's why we're hoping. By the way, I didn't want to start a campaign process for the United Green Movement Party tickets candidates, but I really think that anyone who's watching me tonight, I think it's time to put your come to this particular platform.
Those occupying positions of influence and power are doing the contrary things that are, apart from what we expect. So I think as a country we're still lagging behind. If we are still talking of constitutionally, Kenya, we are supposed to, and we'll leave alone the constitutional thing. It is natural that we should have at least 10% of our land covered by forest. But here comes a case, we have 7.4% coverage, to mean we're lagging 3.6% behind, and we're talking of plastics and etc. So the issue of climate and matters climate change, especially pollution in Kenya, has been characterized by plastic, pollution, and even degradation of the ozone layer that comes from emission of CO2. And that's why you ask yourself, when I was a young person, when I used to go to ECD, the weather was somehow calm and it was not that sunny. Today you walk, it is too bright. You may think that the sun is just somewhere miles ahead of you. The ozone layer has been depleted, but we are also, the people in power are the ones leading in charcoal business. So you wonder who is going to implement the policies that have been given to NEMA. And that's why you find out that NEMA has been constitutionally instituted, but there are some powers that have been limited. Why? The big man wants to ensure that the business thrives.
About the issue of knowledge gap, that people who have power and those who don't have power have knowledge gap on issues of climate change. But we also need to appreciate that there's a lot of indigenous knowledge which has not been tapped. Their way of living, from the three presentations, we have heard that there's rich knowledge if it can be transformed or work on, we can have to start having a conversation about issues of adaptation and issues of... We ask the next panel speaker to just let the audience understand. If you find, are there any possible solutions we can employ to ensure that we solve the issues of climate change? Because if we, all of us complain, and we are within structures of power, and when Steve was talking here, he was mentioning how everything is possible at the political party structure and the political party spheres. And he had a lot of hope, telling us that when we get the political parties, all the problems we have will be solved. Let us understand if he was correct. Are there solutions you think we can be able to employ to enable us to have climate actions that can be employed by every individual within this country?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. For my political party, which is UDA, we are talking so much on the bottom up, but I must say that our priorities on this climate change and also the environment conservation, our approach will be from the grassroots. And as much as we have been so much indoctrinated to the fact that the bottom up is about the economics of our country, it is a whole cultural issue. Whatever the challenges that our previous presenters were talking about, the issue of base politics, the issue of traditions, the issue of innovation, all these issues boil down to one issue, the culture of our citizens. Because the Kenyans, or the citizens of this country, they know that we have a climate issue, or we have an environmental challenge that is affecting our country. And that's why you heard somebody say that we know that indeed we should not be using plastic bags to carry chips we do. But we always sign them when NEMA is coming on board. That tells you that we indeed know that there is a policy direction from the government that we should not be using these plastic bags. But when a law enforcer is coming, is nearby, that's when we fix the cultural issue, the value system of our citizens. That's when we are going to get it right. In regards to the issues of the political parties, how we are going to implement this climate change question, I know that the climate change, and indeed, it is one of the issues that is going to inform our campaign message going forward. But let me talk about the political party, fixing this issue on political party point of view, like my brother Steve was trying to say. You know, the challenge with our political parties is that Maina Karope will come and form a political party today. I try and mobilize members to join my political party. I don't mobilize them from the point of manifesto of my political party, but I'm trying to mobilize them so that the political parties, as a compliance institution, should actually be telling these political parties that before they start registering members, they first of all put the manifesto for people to peruse through, so that before I become a member of that political party, I should be knowing what are the political, or what are the manifesto, or what are the issues that are espoused or they are projected by this particular political party. Like for instance, Mheshimiwa here, UGM, I've known them to be projecting the issue of climate change for the longest time. We have been preaching of political power. I think we need to move forward and challenge the registrar of political party. That one of the issues that they should be pushing the political parties to have is a manifesto before they indeed start registering people to be members of those political parties. Because political parties are the drivers of our democracy. They are actually the custodians of our democracy. So we need to put them to have these manifestos in place. Thank you.
We have had a lot of about the issues of climate change and the issues of environmental injustice and the issues of ecological. Do you feel there's a nexus between all that and
harvesting? The harvest is not even bumper for them to sustain themselves. So what do? People become clever in the negative sense and come up with ways and means of ensuring that they have to see tomorrow. What then do? We see all this form of crime and that is bedeviling our society. And unfortunately, we are not prepared to address the same because we do a lot of firefighting. I believe that we have the capacity, if we have the political goodwill, to bring these things to a dead stop. All that I wish to say is that life is cyclic, that where you start is where you end. And therefore, if there is a breakdown in that cycle, you'll get somewhere. And either things will have to move with the reverse, and we will be talking of the same things. It's important that we get to understand that if we don't fix these issues of climate, they will be with us and we will not have any peace. So our peace entirely depends on how we fix these issues. Thank you.
We have few minutes to complete this panel, but we will not leave this room before we discuss about the issue of the high cost of living in our country. So I will request each one of us to respond to that question of what is the way out for the Kenyan economy. People are suffering, people are crying, people are complaining. We were told you are the solutions. What is the way out of the Kenyan economy? And we are projecting that in the next few months, we are going to election. We can start with you.
Thank you very much. We can't fix the economy if we can't fix the environment. I believe that let's start with the first thing first, that we fix the environment, because the environment is what has all the wealth that we need. And if we don't secure that wealth, then there's nothing that we are doing. Because of time, I want to say that let our systems, right from the education, the KICD, when they're developing whatever curriculum materials, I believe that we need to devote quite a good chunk of that information at that level. So that people, our children will grow up understanding that if I don't care,
in less than a minute.
Good governance is key. It's very, very important. Elect leaders who can meet the requirements of Chapter 6, leaders of integrity. Our country is suffering because we're electing people who have no integrity. Look at Article 10, our national values and principles of governance. Let us elect people who espouse those values. It's very critical. They say that uchumi bora, pesa mfukoni, and as for Kenya we say, usawa kwa wote. Thank you.
Yes, it is good that we are prioritizing the cost of living in this discussion. But I must say that one of the themes, or the theme of this discussion here was aspect. If we tackle it from the scientific way, we are not going to get it wrong. I think if we go the scientific way, we are going to get it right. We also need to take care of our environment, our nature, our natural system, because nature. So for us, as a political formation, we are saying that as a solution to the cost of living in our country, we are going to get it right from the grassroots. We are going to invest in the communities, from the small centers of living. We build the village cottages from that level. We get the environment right from those levels, because we cannot be talking from the 10 coverage nationally, but at the grassroots level, we are not beginning at that level. So, as a cost of living, we are going to begin it from the grassroots level using the bottom-up economic model.
Propose a legislation that the government will provide seedlings to each household. If you fail to plant it, now we can deal with you. Secondly, you see, Kenya Power is meddling around with broad economy, and we don't touch on what causes the economic element that we currently experience in our nation. The government has prioritized investment in national projects that has no intermediate capital return. How many young people or the general population can get income from the projects that the government has prioritized? Number two, our economy has been badly affected. Then we are still heading a long way. So as ANC, we know what ails our economy, and we know best the drug that we are going to inject in the economy. And everyone is going to live to a better economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what Kenya needs are inclusive economic institutions, institutions that are not extractive in their very nature that we've seen. I mean, we've seen many governments put Kenya in huge debt. The debt burden in Kenya is overwhelming, and the reason it's overwhelming is because of the nature. I mean, we borrow money to steal, so that's part of the main problem. Our economy is based on agriculture. What we need to do for Kenya is we need to let the rural folk do what they do best. Let's support their farm supplies, let's support them in their agriculture, but also do value addition to agriculture in the manner of cottage industries that are greening the economic drivers of Kenya. Kenya earns foreign exchange through its tea, through its coffee. We need to work on greening those aspects of economic drivers of the country. So for us as a political party, we really think that if we green those various aspects, Kenya will then be the right trajectory to grow the various economies.
Thank you. Now we request someone to help circulate the microphone so that we can have few questions as we are finalizing this. If you have a be answered by those who are here, kindly ask.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Mario. I am the National Vice Chairman for the Green Congress Party of Kenya.
Well, it's supposed to be a session, science responsive, so maybe we can start with the scientists themselves.
Thank you very much. Mine is one I would want to hear from all these parties. How many of them have done any tree planting in front of me, as much as you're safe? where is the role of the woman? Where is the role of the youth? Is this the representation of what we should expect in 20?
You have seen some of the solutions that the universities can provide if they are adequately financed. Right now, we don't have any financing from our government for research and product development. There is no budget line for it, even in our budget. And there is also a law prohibiting, you can say, lecturers and students to trade the space, where you have laws that prohibit what we are aspiring to do, but at the same time, the financing, including from the financial institution, there is no provision for it.
Of course, we go with your questions, and then we can open to the public. What do you say, Stephen?
Thank you. Mine is something that we have noted when we are developing your party manifestos. And I'm yet to see some of yours. Do we really have stand-alone policies on environment in your manifesto, or are they hiding somewhere in there?
We can have that as a first round of questions, because they were also part of contributors to this panel, and then we will now welcome the others to ask questions. I will request that I distribute the questions so that we will be able to get others to ask. So Mheshimiwa Nato, you will respond on the gender role, and then we will have the climate financing and the research component responded by
in all our tier leadership. Because we wanted two leaders of this panel, and have been a male leader of the party and a female leader of the party, and that runs through across the entire leadership of the party up to the Green Party. So the issues of gender in the United Women Party are sorted. Number two, with regard to tree planting, the United Women Party has initiated a 1 billion tree campaign. The last tree campaign we did was in the 12th of December. We planted 100,000 trees all in Lamu County, and particularly this particular World Environment Day, we're going to be doing another 100,000 trees with regard to the United Women Party. The third thing, which is the last one, the United Women Party has a 5-pillar manifesto. The first one is on youth and unemployment. The second one is on environment. The third is on the economy, the fourth is rule of law, the fifth is social justice and equality. On the environment, we have all the ecosystems, the 10 ecosystems that are in Kenya. We have aspirations. The party candidate on the ballot, you must vote for that person.
Thank you. Apologies to Dr. Bessie, I'm not unfair at times. We're good with time, so we can continue. Oh, okay, thank you.
All of us can respond to the question.
Well, I may just say that AIDS has planted several trees. Let me tell you something. I am a leader, but I will say that I don't suspend my individual consciousness to entertain psychopaths. We have not seen where we planted several trees, but as leaders in events, we do try to plant trees. Yes. And also, on the youth factor, I am a young man.
I've not yet, exhausted the 24th year in my age. So I'm the youngest person seated here. The youth is well taken care of. And in ANC, our executive director is a youth. The head of political strategy is a youth. The head of ICT and programs is a youth. With the SG, we have the youngest SG in Kenya, actually, Simon Gikuru. So the matter of youth and Sankara here, that is well sorted. And I think those are...
I want to respond to this question. As you are all aware, UD is the youngest political party in Kenya. And we're also one of the largest political parties in Kenya also, by membership. But regardless of how young we have been, we have been able to take care of some of the questions that we have asked. In regards to the gender question, we are all aware that our SG is a woman. For high-level political meeting, at the level of parliamentary group meeting of our political parties. And I've seen members of parliament and also high-level officials of our political party always engaging on the issue of gender in decision-making process. So that is an issue that we have taken serious in our political party. We have a women's congress, a political formation called Inua Mama, which advocates for the rights of women within our political formation. That is actually outside the political party, but within the political formation. Because you understand, not every political issue or even economic issue can be sorted out by the Women's Congress. But we have pluralized the political formation to have even local groups that are advocating for the rights of women. In regards to the issue of youth, we have one of the youngest executive directors being a youth of our political party, that is UDA, and I'm also there. I'm one of the main advocates of youth being considered in political power or political position within the political formation of UDA. The other issue is, on the issue of funding, I think from this meeting I'm going to be the champion of UDA once it forms government, come August, that we are going to set a certain percentage of our national budget to be set aside for the climate change and environment conservation. To that extent, I'm going to be the advocate of us setting aside a certain percentage of the national budget in our government that is going to be formed of national government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will start with the question that was portioned to me before I also speak politics. One professor, it's quite unfortunate that universities are finding themselves where they are with regards to issues, research, and growth for the institution. Because we know that one item that universities are supposed to be known for is that if you're then you are political. No human being is political. Because politics affects our lives. And if it's affecting your work, then you have no business saying, I'm keeping my business, and yet I'm not contributing to society. So I believe that from the Kenya perspective, and from the Azimio formation where we belong. It's a matter that we work on in terms of collaboration. Number two, issues of standalone policies in Manifesto. Our pillars for 2022, other than being in the new formation, has environment as a factor. Why? We say if we don't fix the environment, then we will go hungry. And if we go hungry, we will not have the energy to develop this nation. So it's important that we work on what is going to spur development, because wealth is in the soil and is where we live. On matters gender, for our party, we have a policy called Beyond Two-Thirds Gender. It is a 50-50 kind of arrangement. And this you can, it's not about ticking the box. You can verify this from the different political parties in terms of how our membership is, that it is beyond the two-thirds and gender in all the organs of the party. Nobody in this room needs to be introduced to Honorable Mada Karua, because Mada Karua is the voice of everyone. And Mada Karua, where she is, will never leave the young people behind. She will never leave the women behind. She will never leave the other special interest group individuals. So I believe that as a party, we are all inclusive, and all our efforts are on inclusivity, not for purposes of compliance. Lastly, but not least, we are at a point where we have the spanners to fix our vehicle. The question I want to put to each one of us is, how prepared are you to pick your spanner and fix that little area of this vehicle, so that the vehicle can move when everybody has fixed their part of the vehicle? Thank you.
Let me respond to, I'll be very fast. I'll be very, very fast. Number one, on the issue of gender. As for Kenya, we advocate for 50-50 female and male opportunities in our party. Out of the fifth, we get power. We will have all those opportunities running throughout. 50-50 sharing of government for male and female. And this is mainstreamed in all our structures, from the National Executive Council up to the polling station, where our organs begin. Number two, the issue of planting trees. We have planted trees in 20 out of 47 counties. This work is spearheaded by our National Youth League. We have taken as our resources 20% of our resources directed to the National Youth League. What they do with that money is their own activities, their own programs. One of the programs they do is planting. Environmental issues is the fourth pillar in our manifesto, and it is standing alone with a clear problem situation and very, very clear interventions as a government will talk about. So it is something we have taken seriously. But we have taken economy to be number one, governance, issues of security, then environmental issues. We have taken it very seriously. The more reason you should join this party and see me maybe after this session.
Okay, I'll try and be brief. the issue of gender, I think you'll find that we are one of the parties whereby we have our leadership fairly split among the genders. We have a four-party leader, a lady, very well qualified. Our treasurer is a lady. In fact, in terms of the national leadership steering committee, we are split 50-50 in terms of gender. As far as pre-planting is concerned, we have been involved in various initiatives, and we are evolving our stance now to go into more programmatic approaches, whereby we're looking at having participation of the youth and how we can bring this into legislation. And this is from primary school to secondary school level. There's 31,000 primary schools. We're working very closely with the various ministries now to develop programs that can be able to accelerate the tree planting programs. Our objective is to move the current tree cover from what they say between 5 and 7% to 14 trees around. So it's not just putting plants in the ground, but plants that serve different functions, from firewood and food and other ecological benefits that come with it. What was the first question?
Steve was asking if you have put deliberate measures in your manifestos to have specific policies on environment.
Yes, as a Green Party, the ecology is fundamental. Pillar in terms of how our ideological posture is formulated. We are looking seriously at, again, looking at these global issues and bringing them to a localized capture political power, but rather to be part of the paradigm. That transforms the political discourse to the understanding that being green is the future, being conscious of the environment, being better custodians of our environment, especially to develop ourselves as an agent for change, and to work with all the political parties who we may be in competition with, and to have them help us to push legislation where necessary, to be able to push some of our programs in. I think this is the most deliberate action within our posture. Could be answered, an answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you to the panelists and our experts for the questions. We will request the next members of the audience will be asking questions. Kindly go to the specific panel so that we can have more people asking. and give us feedback because we are almost winding up the session. I saw the first hand there. You can take the mic.
Chikwat. Yeah, thank you so much.
Nice.
Yeah, my name's Zakir Wafula from Trans Nzoia County. I'm vying for an MCA position in Hospital Ward. And mine got where members of assembly, that is county assembly, have been using this liquefied petroleum gas. They are using it as something that they are wooing people so that they can vote for them. They say that, you know, we bring these gases to you, so vote for us. It is my humble request that an international community can help every household in Kenya so that we can have gases. We can have gases so that we can at least reduce, you see, the rate that we are cutting trees. That is one. Two, our government is very smart. Many of these laws that these guys are using, they are using it to put down a small mwananchi. Like the NEMA, when they brought NEMA, it was a very good bill that it could help this country. But you can see nowadays, I come from Trans Nzoia, every day you can meet a truck. They are carrying timbers from the forest. Yet, Kenya Forest Rangers, they are manning that forest. So it's fooling who? It is government, they are eating its people.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a comment and a question, who is fooling who? Yes? Be quick, please.
Okay, my names are Sami Mwema, MP aspirant Lunga Lunga, Kwale. Kindly touch on blue economy for us in Coast. Then the next question and the last one. I want to go to Kenya Kwanza. Okay. The next question is for UD and Kenya Kwanza. Where is that money that you are saying you are going to set aside coming from? Will you borrow more? Or will you take from us? Putting money into our pocket. And the best one is planting trees, making the best environment for our people so that they can earn and put more money on their pockets themselves.
Thank you.
Without you taking it.
Oh, thank you.
Grow beyond individuals. If we were to have parties like CCM in Tanzania, parties that can have their manifesto still rolling even when the party honors, like when you see these gentlemen here, they are talking on behalf of party honors. In the absence of Musalia Mudavadi, there will be no ANC. In the absence of Martha Karua, there will be no NARC Kenya. In the absence of Raila Odinga, there will be no ODM. Ford Kenya is just lucky that they have been inheriting the party. Inheritance in the sense that manifestos that can live beyond the party leaders. The second part of it that I want to bring directly to the youngest party, UDA. Of course, this is like someone going to start from 3 in a different school and you're saying you're new in school. While you have been learning from class 1 to... Because there are those who are in as a water catchment area, and another member, I'm not quoting any name, saying, how on earth have we ever seen rain coming from the trees? Then again, you want to tell me that is the party that will really handle matters of environment? You guys have been asking specific questions, and the question has been, what do you have in your manifesto that is directly targeting matters of environment? Then the comedian will tell you, say,
Thank you. I take 3 more, and then we will provide the panel with an opportunity to respond. But I think most of the questions are reflective questions. You might not need to defend here, but just make me look like Jeff Koinange when you do.
Okay, just an additional to what he has said. When you look at the mature democracies, parties stand for something. You know, you will hear a party called Labour. They have issues of labor at heart as they spread over. Social Democratic Party, social issues of the people as they go out. Conservative, there's something that they are looking at that they should not change because of what they are gaining from. But when you come down here, perhaps is only United Green Movement that has an ideology. Of environment, and you can build an environment that will spread over. But I think the parties are now here, they can tell us, really, what do they stand for?
Thank you. I give the culture an opportunity.
Thank you very much. So I said with the low tree coverage, you know, of course the politicians will go to plant trees at events they are, but 10 trees are not sustainable. My second question will go to the representative from Ford, Kenya. You have gone ahead to state that the recent one addressed the environmental issues that we have faced. Could you outline maybe some of those policies or pillars that your manifestos had, and what have you been able to achieve, in light of those policies that you had in those manifestos? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. This is my Rajon from Kenya. I'm MCA seat in Kalitua. And
in which county?
Kenya County.
Okay.
And as much as I have heard of political parties representatives talking of democracy and policies, where have we put God in our political parties? Because if we plant tree, we need God to bring rain, and the tree cuts the rain. What portion have we given to God in our political parties?
This is just a comment. When we had our 3 speakers panel, they did not have a seat. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say 8. But we're on a bit. Until we stop looking at the political leaders as demigods, we cannot have a change in our claim. Until we respect every other person.
The specific ones asked, and others were just reflective points for us to just have a conscious reflection. We are not here to please anyone, but we are here to state of what we have in our parties and what we think can work.
Well, on the question of who fools who, it is about individual integrity, and the ANC is an institution. It is not an individual property. If Musalia misbehaves today in ANC, we as the national delegates, we have the capacity to impeach him and send him home, because that is a party which is there to stay. That's something you need to understand. So, you Musalia and me not mentioning him anywhere in my statement, I think is a gross misconduct in public. My sister over there, as ANC, we stand for economy. You know, if we all go for everything, politics is all about specialization. If we were to emphasize much on economy, my brother, you know, this is an individual initiative. When we elect leaders to parliament, I'm not here to defend someone who did not give me responsibility to defend them. I did not call any MP when I was coming here, but they know I was coming. So, I will not defend someone for having legislated or not, something that I don't know. But what we stand for, this is common knowledge, that as a party, we have corporate social responsibility, that we all aim towards improving the environment, and these things are intertwined. When we're improving the economy, we're talking about economy, we are going to definitely solve the plastic thing. When we solve that, are we not directly contributing towards environmental improvement? Definitely we are. It doesn't require rocket science.
Can you finalize?
I'm finalizing, just a minute. So, as I conclude, as MC, my sister, we stand for economy. We have done something little, and I've said that I don't want to give misquotations. You know, politics should not make us fools. You have to lie in public. I don't do that. We have not planted much, but I believe, as a person, as an individual, our home has got over 350 trees that have been planted by my son. My grandmother has got a land that is worth 4 acres. And in that land, we have over 392 trees. That have been planted by my dad and myself. So,
thank you.
I think majority of the questions were also directed to UDA and also the Kenya Funds of Commission. In regards to the first question, who is following who, I believe the voters asked this panel is a good better than you said. And this panel, you can fix the leadership question in August 2022. So, in regards to who is following who, don't be fooled by the politicians, don't be fooled by the economic talkers that we have had since 1963. Go and elect the right leadership. And you have that solemn opportunity come August. There was the question of how UDA is fixing the blue economy. I must say that and you bear me witness that you Vihiga or North Kenya region. So as a party and also as a political formation, we have taken to consideration of coming up with regional specific measures that have been discussed in during these economic forums. And for the for the coast and also the Nyanza, we have developed the Blue Economy Manifesto or the solutions to those issues that are affecting the blue economy in those specific regions. And they are going to inform the national manifesto that we are going to political party. Is the issue of determination, collective effort, and also hard work. You must you have to concur with me that the campaign message of UDA has been the Hustler message. And the Hustler message is an issue of hard work and determination. It is not an issue of just an issue of a political message for us to capture power. It is an issue of determination and also collective effort for us to achieve what we aspire as a nation. The small and medium enterprises, and when we commit this fund to the small and medium enterprise, that's where the government now comes on board to you, and you pay tax. And this tax is where now the tax that will be collected by the government, it is going to prioritize maybe the climate change fund, maybe the healthcare system. And
Thank you so much. The others can also be able to respond. Allow the others to have an opportunity kindly.
Thank you very much.
Very brief response to lead this political party. Yes, in politics, you need some quiet or slack. Otherwise, you can't survive. And my brother, you need God too in politics. It's God who chooses leaders. Number two, on what the gracious lady there asked about the manifestos we have had and whether we have implemented them and etc. Yes, we have had very good manifestos, very lofty ones. Manifestos are pledges. Once you get power, you implement those pledges. As for Kenya, we can't implement the agenda of Jubilee, the 4-point agenda of Jubilee. When we get power, we will implement. Fort Kenya has not formed a government so far. So every time we have not formed a government, we go to the opposition benches. And I want to tell you that on the issues of environment that we have always had, in the opposition benches in Parliament, we have done quite well. Our members of Parliament have contributed tremendously in enacting various laws that pertain to that specific area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. for being brief. We will give Mheshimiwa here and then finalize because my time is up. I know they are still around. We will have an opportunity to interact with them, but also it gives us an opportunity as we are heading to 2022 election. We have to interrogate and ask these hard questions. We might never have
into Europe, and there's all kinds of problems coming out of that. The long and short of that is that when these issues become framed in the media, they have a cultural twist to them, and this cultural twist is not necessarily indigenous to us. So it was very interesting to hear the issue of LPG coming up from the local perspective that I use to define our policies. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that. I think we can borrow from the best practices. But as far as we are concerned here, we see that the key issues are, first and foremost, the loss of our tree cover is interfering with our ecological. Systems in a way that we can no longer ignore. We believe that in the next 10 years, the main political hot topic is going to be the environment, is going to be food security, is going to be the weather, and you know we could paint all kinds of genetic and genetic modified organisms, which again is going to lead to challenges that we are yet to understand fully what it means. So we are going to have to look at bringing in laboratories and bringing in capacity that will be able to assist us in operating in a sustainable fashion. So in short, I think there needs to be a cultural change, both in how we look at the problem. It's very good that we have the Swedish Forum leading this, participate in progressing our own green agenda. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know Mheshimiwa has not spoken, but he has an opportunity to close the session. So I request to close this panel now. And and we still have an opportunity to interact with them, not only today, but what is coming from this conversation is that there's a big gap in terms of knowledge and also the understanding of issues of policies and the priorities. And the issue of truth, that gender role, when it was asked, it brings counting in that structure. So we are, all of us, it was not just an answering and asking question, but an opportunity for all of us to look within and have an opportunity now that we are heading to the electioneering period. Just ask ourselves if we are doing the right thing. We have been told that we have to exist, and as we exist, and as we have to exist, we have an opportunity to make it right. So today was one of that opportunity for us to reflect. Some of the questions were not to be answered here, but for us to go back and check if our manifestos are really responsive to the issue we are talking about. Are we making the right priorities when it comes to climate change? When we are going to the COPs, what we are prioritizing reflective of what is happening at the grassroots? Do we feel like political parties meet the aspirations and the hope which Steve has? Do we feel there is a room for us to change? Can we just reflect if we really feel that our political parties play the critical role to achieve? And with those political parties which are doing well and are leading the way, is there something we can do to rally that people can be able to check and learn from them? Are we giving room for others to benchmark from the structures within us? So again, we reflect on what I started with, that the Wangari Maathai a vision, others are still pushing it, but we are asked, are we just planting trees, or are we checking if the trees we are planting, someone is cutting them? Are we taking care of the trees we are planting? Are we ensuring that the finances which is allocated for that, someone is accountable for it?
Please clap for these ladies and gentlemen. That was quite a session. Very informative enough. We got to see the people running the political parties. After to make up with Justin, we decided we are starting a doing it. You know, it's just Comedians International Alliance or something. CIA is our thing. You're on the website, by the way, Musubuze. Don't touch that one. And our main problem, what is our main problem? I think our main problem is money. Money.
We don't have funding.
We don't. If you guys can send us funding, Hapa, Sai, we will appreciate this right now.
Just 10 bob.
10 bob, kila mtu, 310. Till number. Do you want a till number? Mnataka till number? Kama mnataka till number mseme, kwa sababu kama si till number.
We know we are the ones with the mic, but you can speak out for us with your money.
With your money. Let your money speak for you. Jokes aside, we're the least serious in the upper Muslim, by the way. Don't go searching for CIA. You'll get in trouble. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. You know, me something. Things from things. 30s, or you know, Facebook generation, you don't think, you know the problem with being in your 30s, it sneaks up on you and you don't think you're getting old. You just start realizing, something just happened, and then it disappears on its own. But thanks to Justine here, she's the one who taught me that Instagram, the boomerang is automated. You know, I was doing my own boomerangs.
That was embarrassing for all of us.
Yeah, hi guys. And, you guys know what quotes. You know, Facebook, we tried on quotes. Quotes that didn't support anything, they didn't mean anything. You remember my friend used to say something on Facebook, alikuwa anasemanga, you know what, you want to sound very profound. You come and you say, character. It's like a pregnancy. You can't hide it. Boom, mind-blowing, amazing. What the hell? Does that make sense to anybody? Does it make sense to anybody? They just say stuff like that all the time. And I was so confused. I was just like, am I lost? What is happening? And then I pay taxes so the police can protect us, all of us together. We are all being protected. I mean, if you're filing nil returns, of course, you have to protect your woman. Share some responsibilities with the government. Saidia serikali, tafadhali. Saidia serikali. We need to adopt that. Saidia serikali. That will make us more empowered, you know. Saidia, that means you're not saidiaring, you're ordering serikali. What is this?
I just realized that the whole time you've been talking about my friend puts her business, don't mention my name in people's like, you can't just be outing me like this, my friend.
Unajua ako na Facebook account, this one, and she ignores it. You know, Coach Vance.
I think it's important for you to know your assets. No, the assets of the Lord. You guys, don't be, I mean, natural. I have made my peace. I don't know why that is judging me.
What am I judging? Me, I have not said anything. You say what you're saying, say it, and that's they hear. They judge for us. You guys will judge for us. Say it. What have you made your peace?
A lot of the things I say are prayers. You know, like you have to pray and put that energy out into the world so that you can come back in. Your M-Pesa. I feel like I've known him for a long time, but it's just been like 2 years. No, he feels like an ancestor, you know, reincarnated.
That's what happens when you're a bald-headed guy. You know, people think you know everything. You know, many times even homeless people, they approach me, and I understand life is difficult, right? But they approach me with half-baked stories. If you're going to be asking for money, surely, your story quite complete. Like unajua nisaidia na nini niko na nini. So naelewa. No, sieleza. What happened to you? What happened today? Why? Yeah, fafanua. You know, there's a guy who came and then he's looking for money. He's destitute. Like I noticed it happened to a few people. I was walking into a restaurant. It happened to a few of them. And then one of them that happened to is me. I came there and he was doing this. It's like, excuse me, bro, my phone is dead and I need to get to Rongai. Can I ask for your help? And I was like, yeah, I can give you my charger, right? So you can charge your phone. They're getting the food, right? Yes. I think the food is what we are buying time for, guys. By the way, we are buying time. Hamuja notice? Unajua tuongee ukweli hapa. Unajua kuna jam in Nairobi, kuna traffic jam, and we want you guys to get fed. So we figured we can make you laugh while we wait for the food. The jam there has become a bit of an issue. Unless you guys are not hungry. Are you guys hungry? Right? Are you hungry? Yes. So there is food. So might as well to go to jam. So that's what's happening. I think it's fair to let these guys know what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are truth tellers.
Wako kwa jam wanakama wao watu wa nini. It happened. They got stuck at Wayaki way. Yeah.
So be patient with them. But also I just realized, like the global economy has been very affected by the climate crisis. There are supply chain. Issues everywhere. So the other day I left my house. I was going to go to my mama mboga to get like my daily veggies, but it rained, you guys. It rained. I was stuck in my house. I couldn't. She had to shut down and go home. I had to sleep hungry. Like this global economy has been very affected. Build your party around me being hungry. That would be like an amazing party, We eat all the time. Every time, the whole day. I think that's a good initiative. Who's with me? No one wants to eat? Okay. So I'm full of the girl.
Does that mean it's alright? I think it looks like it's alright.
It looks like, yeah.
Ama, we just wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, carry on. Let's carry on. Try and stick around. We don't want to leave.
Yes. And I realized our moderator for the panel, representation in my mind, advocating for that to be changed. Yeah, and I believe this is something. Another thing that I truly believe. We're trying to urbanize environmental consciousness, and so that we can have better future cities. So my solution to proper waste management is to start dumping waste in very
that will work. That will work.
For everyone.
That will work. We take it to Runda.
Yes.
So about this Dandora in Runda.
Yes.
Let's see if they sort it the following morning. Yeah, that is a good plan. Come on, guys, that's a good plan. You're the plan poor. You're the plan poor, Sana. They will wake up application and legislation, bro.
And that idea took me 5 minutes. Imagine.
I think first is to thank you very much for being here this evening. It's indeed an honor. Secretary General Green Forum, the various representatives of the political parties. We had Ford Kenya, NAG Kenya, UDA, the Green Congress of Kenya, ANC. We'd like to thank you for having representation tonight. And on behalf of the United Green Movement Party, first of all, I'd like to apologize. We stretched the program slightly late in the afternoon, but we're going to be finishing up very shortly. I am going to be the final speaker this evening, so I'd like to request for a bit of patience with us, the Green Movement Party. And first of all is to acknowledge that we have hearing members of the United Green Movement Party who have come from various counties, who came in for our nominations today, and of course, consequently, the Aspirants Conference tomorrow and Sunday. I'd just like you to wave wherever you are if you're a member of the United Green Movement Party. Thank you very much for being here. We acknowledge you. The second is I'd like to acknowledge the presence in this particular hall, our sister party from Rwanda, the Parti Vert du Rwanda, the ladies. From that particular party, if you're still in the hall, please sweep interestingly. For us at the United Green Movement Party, like I said when we were speaking, we have a 5-point manifesto. It's not what I'm going to speak to tonight. Tonight, I'd like to say something just from where the moderator left it. The moderator told us to reflect on the issues that are being discussed. So I'd like to present my reflections on this particular evening. Most of you may not have known that today was the World Earth Day. On this particular World Earth Day, I think was a beautiful coincidence. It wasn't planned, but it was a beautiful coincidence that actually we're getting to engage and discuss science and politics on World Earth Day. Whatever we do with the conversations that we've had this particular evening, I think is all upon us. It's all upon us as various political parties to go and engage with moving forward. But one of the things that I'd like to say is I'd like to speak and respond to the 3 issues that the various speakers raised. The number one thing that I really liked, and the gentleman from the Oslo Center when he spoke and said that the future is in our hands. The Kenyan political parties have been running their primaries this past couple of weeks, and I think today was the last day of running political party primaries. You've had representatives of various political parties. But one of the things I'd like to tell you, having been a member of parliament, served twice for 2 terms, is like good governance in this country is going to take us time, the political systems in this country. It's going to take time. Oftentimes I've listened to leaders speak to the fact that Kenya and Asian tigers were at the same level in terms of both economic growth and both in terms of institutional governance. The difference between the Asian tigers and what we have in Kenya is the difference in terms of our extractive political institutions. You've just seen political parties which have been very dishonest. You've seen machozi ya political party primaries. I've seen men and women cry like little babies because they've never been conned, they've never been violated, because the political parties have other interests. Political parties, like you've had, are vehicles of governance. You do not learn bad manners in government. And there is no way we can pretend that Kenya is going to be different. I mean, I've got to be honest, like a politician. The 2022 election is actually the first election in Kenya about nothing. It is the only election where we have nothing to exchange for nothing. It's just going to be an election where we participate and go to the vote. What I'd like to request is, how do you explain the Golden Bag scandal and tell us things are going to change? How do you explain the Eurobond scandal and the same old people? So this particular election we're going into is an election about nothing. Let us just go vote for the MCA, vote for the member of parliament, and vote and hope that incrementally we can change Kenya. I grew up in the village and my grandmother taught me many things. Of course, I grew up in a poor village. And you know, my grandmother told me that the best way to cook a frog is to put the frog in cold water. So you warm the water, the frog does not know that it's getting cooked. And then incrementally, when it boils, it's in different pieces. You'll have cooked the frog. Because if you put the frog in hot water, it will jump up, yeah? The best way to sort out the government issue of this particular country is to warm it up incrementally. There is no shortcut. We can't work on it and think that, you know, the economic pledges that they give us here are going to make any sense. We have to incrementally, like my grandmother and the cooking of the frog, it has to go slowly, and get this particular country out. And that's why I believe, and I'm so happy to lead the network. There is nothing else that crosses into security, and those are green issues. If we green our security sector, if we make sure that everyone else has everything else that they need in the security sector, I think Kenya is going to be moving forward. The second thing that we really need to look at, and I think we need to prioritize as a country, is economic growth. And you know, Kenya is 70% agricultural, as I said when I was speaking. There is no way you can cut and paste another economic model from the country when the villagers in the village are they have maize, they have nothing to do with their cassava. Farmers in Laikipia are pouring milk. We do not need to transplant an economic model, we just need to make sure that we do value addition to our various economic drivers. And with that particular thing, Kenya's economy will grow. We will have our youth not moving from the villages to come to look for work in the city centers. We will have already agreed our various economic aspects. And I think that's one thing that we really want to work on. The third thing I'd really like to talk about is the issue of political freedoms. We can't drive this country without political freedoms. And you've seen right now, I mean, some people sit somewhere in an office and tell us the next governor for which county is going to be this one. How? In this day and age, they sit down and divide their portion of freedoms. I really think that if we need to move Kenya forward, we must then work on our issues of political freedoms. The other thing I'd like to speak to, you know, is the issue of national unity. Granted, my two brothers shook hands. What will happen if they exit the stage? Kenya is still going to be insecure. We're still going to be a divided nation. And someone spoke about it here when we spoke about the issues of, not lack of inclusivity in governance. How come you're not able to have good people in place? Because they are struggling. I mean, right now they're dividing the national cake. Exit the leaders, we're going to have Kenyans want to be included. And if you're going to work on an inclusive country, the only way to stop the small issues we have, the small infractions, is to have national unity as a country. And I really think that for us, as a United Government Party, I thank very much our partners at the Swedish Green Forum for having given us a chance to host this particular event. We're hosting this event, but we were happy that various political parties came to the forefront. Those of you who do not have political parties, those of you who are in other political parties, I'd like to invite you, with the power given to me as the leader of the United Government leader, please make sure that you become a member of the United Government Party, because we think the future is going to be great. The future is great, and there's no conversation about it. I mean, I liked when Dr. spoke about the planning, the urbanization and the planning. You cannot do what they're doing here, outside here. I mean, I walk to work most of the times. There is no walkway on this thing. There's no bicycle lane. There's nothing here. We are living in a mortar world. They have bricked everything. There's brick and mortar all over the place. There are no green spaces in Nairobi anymore. And you know, what that simply shows for countries that we're going to be having diseases, airborne diseases. We're going to have, the thing that trees do, and this is nothing to do with the fact that we're members of the Green Party. Trees give us fresh air. They suck carbon dioxide. And that is the reason why anyone who is normal in his mind and wants to move this country forward must plant trees, must give space for green ideas. And I really think that the best we want to do on this particular World Earth Day is, as many of you, I think, who are political partyless, or those of you who have seen that those ones are not having any ideas, you must join the United Government Party. By the way, Kenya has 3 green political parties. There's the Green Congress of Kenya. When the Daktari was presenting, I now want to react to what the theory is saying. That's why I'm saying it's my reflections. Having grown up, I am not a scientist. I'm not a natural scientist, because I quit science when I was in the physics class and they asked us how many times is the pendulum going to swing before it stops. I wondered why you can just hold the pendulum so that it stops. So that's the time I quit the science class. But one of the things that I do speak to. Okay, maybe I guess that's a sign that I should stop. Thank you very much. Before I stop, let me say a couple of things. When Daktari was speaking, and she did show us the plastic bottles and how bad the country is moving. Then the gentleman from Oslo Center, he actually said 3 times, and I was happy about when he said it. The future is in your hands. And he went again and said, the future is in your hands, and I was very happy about it. Because it reminded me of Fodis and Co. Those of you who've read the Sierra Leone and the Liberian struggle. Fodis and Co, when they went to Ho in Sierra Leone when he was campaigning, he was asking the Sierra Leoneans, we are going to this election and the future is in your hands. So you're either voting for this and Co or the other people. So if you did vote for this and Co, you'd ask you, do you want a long sleeve or a short sleeve? So if you see the amputees in Sierra Leone, it's because of this and Co. Because they said, you Sierra Leoneans have the future is in your hands and you don't know how to use your hands. So he helped you with it. He either gave you a short sleeve, which was cutting your hand or the ring or the elbow. Because they thought at that point that people have the power of the vote. Yet, after 2022 August, Kenyans are going to be complaining again about the state of the economy. Kenyans are going to be complaining again about the state of the environment. Kenyans are going to be complaining about, yet on August the 9th, you have a chance to elect good leaders. How do you explain, and in fact I think one of the persons who is in charge of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission put it very well. Why are you blaming ESCC when you know you've actually elected the thief in office? Why do you want ESCC to be the one who does the work for you when you have civic duty and you can say, I'm not putting the thief in office? You cannot elect a thief and then want ESCC to judge the thief for you. I think it's completely unfair. So I really think that as a country, one of the things we must do, and I loved when, the professor showed the interface between science and politics. And that's why, I mean, I was excited because now, even though I'm not a natural scientist, I can be a social scientist and now have science and politics together. Because the innovation you're talking about is not just for professors, it's for the country, it's for the benefit. It's how to structure our greenness, it's how to structure our economy. That science, if only our politicians, of course, will be elected in August, so you can actually hold us to task as UGM when we get into office, that these things that you speak in various boardrooms, we need to make them manifest at the policy level. We need to make sure that this is how we run Kenya. Kenya needs to be run on the basis of scientific models, things that are researched, things that are tested. That is the only way we can move the country forward. Don't wake up and give us various models like you've seen. Those models do not work, and the politicians know they do not work, but I hope that you can work together. But anyway, I have already thanked you for coming, and for us at the United Agreement Party, we are happy to host you anytime. My very good friend, someone I read a lot from, Booker T. Washington, writes in a book, Three Negro Classics. And, he says, it's in school where you get socialized, it's in school where you get fresh ideas. Some of us learned how to use a toothbrush for the first time at school. Some of us learned how to have a shower at school. You get socialized. So we've had a very good scientific discussion this afternoon. I think we've been sufficiently very socialized. But Booker T. Washington also says that education is the process of scratching the child's mind. Whatever the child then does with that particular education is his or her own business. But I'd like to request us that on this particular World Earth Day, is that the science that we've learned here, because we've appreciated that we must green our politics, that science and politics must interface if this country has to move forward. The kind of growth we have right now is retarded development, retarded thought, retarded political thought. I really think that we need to science our politics if the country needs to move forward. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. And for those of you who are going to eat, who are going to break their fast, I'd like to see bon appetit, and I hope that we can really meet again at some point. Once we've been elected in the month of August, then we can move the country forward. I'd like to invite the Secretary General of the Green Forum, my very good friend and partner, to come and make closing remarks on this particular event. Please give a hand.
That we have dragged it and dragged it and dragged it for the last half an hour. And the reason for that is that we have food for 400 people stuck on the road for the last 4 hours. And we are trying to solve it, and we don't know what to do. That's the life I have right now. One second. So the only suggestion I have right now is that we exit to floor 5 through I want to cry right now. That's my feeling in my stomach. I really don't know what to do. So the only suggestion I have is that we go out, mingle, talk green politics, and hopefully food will arrive very, very soon. And when it arrives, let's all try to, bring forces together and help the caterers to get the food out. That's all I can do right now, and I'm so, so sorry. But thank you all for joining the event. All the panelists, all the moderators.
Yes.